wow, that looks terrible. That looks really bad. This lighting is absolutely horrible. But what if I did this? And that looks way better. Like, all I did was open a window. Seriously, window behind, all I did is open the window. But seriously, this background looks horrible. I don't like this. Let's change that. And that looks way better. There's a little bit of depth in the background, you know, nice backdrop. Well, I say nice, it's just my gaming PC and setup, but still, it's still better than having a blank wall behind you. You got some stuff behind you, looks nice. This can work as a good scene. This can work for a good YouTube video. So let's shoot the rest of the video like this. Now, there is a point I'm trying to prove by doing all of this kind of hand back and forth and changing the scene, changing the lighting and all of this. And that point is that you don't need an expensive camera to make your video look good. I'm using a pretty expensive camera here, and I have been from the beginning of this video. But you saw how bad it looked at the beginning. Like, it looked really bad. And you've seen the different stages of how my video changed, how the look of my video changed based on what I did. I opened up the curtains, the lights on above me. This is natural light. I haven't spent anything extra. This is to make a point. This is to make the point of my previous video, which was that gear doesn't matter. You can have a super expensive camera like the one I'm using, or a relatively expensive camera like the one I'm using. But if your lighting isn't good, it's not gonna look good at all. So you gotta fix a couple of things. Now, there's 4 fundamental things that can make your video look good, okay? First, lighting. Just like I proved, if you don't have good lighting, then you are not gonna have a good video. Like, you can use a window light. I'm using just a window light. I can show you. Look. See? Just the window, nothing around. Look. There's no other lights. Yeah? It's just the window light. Actually, no, it's not just the window light. I mean, I do have the room light on up there, but you get what I mean. Like, you don't need to spend extra on lighting. I'm filming this video with no additional lights. Just the window light, my room light, and it looks good. It looks hella good. You need to make sure, I don't know why I look that way. There's something in the corner, but I'll deal with that in a minute. You need to make sure that your lighting is good for your video to look good. Lights, camera, action. The reason lights come first, and the reason they say lights first, is because lighting is the most important aspect of your video. If you're filming during the night and you don't have that nice natural light coming in from the windows, then yes, do invest in some cheap lights. I do use these kind of small LED light panels. Look, they're quite tiny. Small LED light panels. These are really powerful and they're super cheap off of Amazon. Pick up one of these sets. You know, it comes in a set of 2. Have them either side. Plenty of light coming at your face, and you're golden. Absolutely sorted. You know, you can pop them up on a surface. You can pop them up on the floor. Have light flooding up at you or towards you from the sides, and you're good to go. So now, what's the next most important aspect? Audio. Now, it's no point if your audio sounds like this. Can you guys hear me? Like, this is from my camera. The audio you are hearing right now is from my camera. It sounds bad, right? I think it sounds bad. It must sound bad. Now, this is how it sounds with a mic on. Nice little mic. Look, Rode mic here. Pop it just above my head. Just above my head. It's so close. It's this close. If I tilt the camera back, look, you can see it. That close to my head. I don't know how to do this. This close to my face. Like, literally this much. Nice mic right up in my face. It doesn't even have to be an expensive mic. It can be any cheap mic. I used to use the old cheap mic and it sounds perfectly the same, right? £30 mic, £20 mic, off of Amazon. Any sort of cheap video mic for your camera will work. Heck, if you're a streamer, you can probably plug in one of your streaming mics and it'll work just the same, right? That's what I used to do before. You can plug in one of your streaming mics, sounds exactly the same. You gotta make your audio sound good. That is the second fundamental of video. You know, do you guys remember bootleg videos back a day, you know, filmed from the cinema? Those people in the streets used to sell them, you know, pound for a DVD. And they used to have absolutely atrocious audio. You know, I mean, the video wasn't that great either because, well, let's face it, it was filmed from a cinema. But the audio was horrible. It's because obviously they're just using a camera to film it and it's booming from all the sides and it just sounds bad and it's unwatchable. If your audio isn't good, it doesn't matter how cinematic your film looks. It doesn't matter how cinematic your video looks, people are going to click off. And that's important. You gotta make people keep watching. You gotta do things. There is something there in the shadows. I'll deal with it. That's why I keep looking that way. I'm sorry. I'll stop getting distracted now. You gotta make your audio sound good. Now the next thing is framing. Make sure you frame your shot well. What do you want to capture? What are you trying to get? There's no point filming a video up close like this when my face is right next to you, right? So I film a little bit further back. This way, you're seeing a little bit of depth behind me. You're seeing my backdrop, which is my setup here. You're seeing that behind me, and you're seeing more of my body. You can see my body movement instead of just my face. Then there's no point in me moving really far back and me looking tiny on the screen, right? It doesn't make sense if I move this far back. Like, you have to frame your shots properly. You gotta make sure that you fit into your frame a decent amount. You gotta make sure that, especially if you're shooting a video like this, which is a talking head kind of video, you're seeing a good amount of my upper torso. You know, my head, there's not much headroom in the video, right? It fits the entirety of the frame, but then I'm not too far back that there's a lot of headspace and I look tiny and really far away and distant, and that way your audience isn't going to be able to focus on you. And if you're too close, then that is obviously another thing, because now your face is right in the audience's face and they don't want to see all the little pores in your skin, and that's something I don't want everybody to see either. So we're gonna kind of stick to this distance. I'm gonna stop moving forward into the camera. But framing is very important. Make sure that your videos are framed well. You want to make sure it's straight up. I mean, depending on the shot you want to get. If you're trying to do a tutorial or some sort of a kind of unboxing, then maybe having the video look down a little bit, sitting a bit further down doesn't hurt, because you're opening something up. You want your audience to see what you're opening up. Get kind of like a angled top-down view, or, you know, depending on, I don't know what situation you'd be standing up looking down at a camera, but, you know, depending on what kind of scene you're trying to shoot, you got to make sure your framing is right. For this kind of a video, this straight up framing is perfect. Like, I've got the frame, got the camera set right here, and I'm right in front of it, nicely in frame, you know, good space on both sides, enough to see my backdrop. Talking of backdrops, you got to make sure you have a nice backdrop. There is no point having an ugly backdrop with just my door when I can have a nice backdrop with my PC and stuff. Sometimes I use a different backdrop where I have the corner of my room, because I've got a nice LED panel there. I haven't turned that on today because I'm trying to make a point. But the point is that you can have nice backdrops. You can see in some of my older videos that I've got the LED panel on. I've got that in my backdrop. It's nice, kind of a nice feel and nice ambience. I mean, it's not perfect, don't get me wrong. Like, my videos aren't perfect. They're far from perfect. I'm trying to get them to be perfect. So there is that nice little backdrop. You can see the lights. Sometimes you can see the light on this side. If it was on here, you can see that light there. If that was on, you'd be able to see a little bit of a glow from that light. If my monitors were on, you can see the kind of image from my monitors. It gives it a little bit more depth. And then I've got the kind of bokeh going on in the background, but that's because of the camera I'm using and the lens that I'm using. But if you're using just your phone, it's just as well, because you'll still capture that kind of depth behind you. You know, there's something behind you rather than just a blank wall. And even if it is a blank wall, if you've got something like a colored wall, or, you know, lights coming up behind you on the wall, reflecting off of the wall, then that's a nice look too. So always make sure that your backdrop is nice and clean, and it's something that the audience doesn't have a problem looking at, because apart from you, you know, there'll be other things behind you. You don't want it to be too distracting, but at the same time, you don't want it to look completely plain and boring, because then your audience will shut off, your viewers will shut off, and they'll click off the video and go watch something else. So guys, that was 4 tips on how to make your videos look better with no additional expense, just by positioning where your camera is, just by making sure that your lighting is right. Lighting, audio, framing your shots, and your backdrop. Making sure you have a nice backdrop, like mine. Well, mine's an okay backdrop, but you get the point, right? And if that was useful to you guys, then make sure you guys hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell, and all the things down below, and check out the description box, because all my social medias are in the description box down below, and you've got links to all the kind of gear that I use and some recommended gear for new creators as well. So get clicking, get subscribing, and until next time, Kai24 signing out.